I got there. Hold on.
There we go. Technical difficulties over. Well, if you've been watching us at all, you know that's quite common. So, welcome, all of you, to the regular DH Thorne stream. All you beautiful bastards, bitches, and non-binary witches. I am your regular host, DH Thorne. And, as always, we're flying by the seat of our pants here. So, you know, just thought we had a little bit of fun with it. Hoping, I don't know. What are we going to talk about tonight? Do you guys have any questions? What have been on your mind? So, I'm going to take a look at who's pouring into the chat. We have Alistor, the NP Demon, Alpha Draconian. And actually, I think, hold on, got one other person here. How are you, mysterious stranger?
You talking to me?
Yeah. You're that flesh priest guy I've heard about, yeah?
Oh, yes. I am the great flesh priest. In fact, I am now Flesh Thorne.
Is that
a little bit deeper and a little bit worse?
That looks like the simulacrum of the last flesh hanging above you.
Oh, that's what's left of him. He was delicious. I have to wash him down. In fact, he was a little bit salty. Yes.
So, what's up, guys? It's been a hot second.
It's been a minute and a half.
It has. And I see CJ Anger here, Jockster, Salora S, Behemoth X. What's up, motherfucker?
Behemoth, I'm not plagiarizing you, bro. I've been wearing a hood since I saw you do it. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Heck is like, what did I walk into? Well, you know.
But yeah, no, this is fun. I'm sure everybody knows like why I'm here right now for the first time. And like, yeah, those of you who don't know, this is fun for me because we've never actually met face to face before now.
Yes. We've never met. It's quite weird, in fact, to have to figure out what it's like to be friends in person. It's a little bit different because it's like now I can see you have like totally psycho eyes. Like I don't see that normally, and like because like I can see like you're a total psychopath. It's like awesome.
I mean, you know, I try not to brag, but like, thank you. Yeah.
This is Cannibal Month, right? Now I think officially now it's Cannibal Month because like fucking Netflix is like once again like paying a lot of people to talk about it online. So like that's all anybody's talking about is like cannibals and shit, which is one of the reasons why I picked the asylum photo for today. But it was also just a badass fucking photo. Holy shit.
That was dope. Everything that you said about that place is true. I want to legally enter that building, of course.
Yeah, legally and totally lawfully. Both both words together.
Yes, very much so.
Yes.
I would never do anything unlawful to gain access to that building.
Maybe
I would definitely only take photos.
Maybe before you leave, we should do that. Like before you.
Yes, I'm sure the paperwork will go through.
I'm sure it'll go through in time. Yeah. There won't be any video or photographic evidence of it whatsoever.
But yeah, so no, this is just fun for me because like it's interesting when you meet people online because I mean let's face it, we all wear masks all the time for anything we're doing. We're projecting, it's glamour magic, projecting some of what we want others to perceive us as out there into the world. And that's digital life as well. It's that simulacrum. So it's interesting because I feel like I've known you guys well enough over all this time where it's like that digital simulacrum isn't really there. Like, you're still the same people to me. So I don't know if you guys are just shit at masks or I'm good at reading through them, or I don't know what's there. But yeah, you guys are still just like...
We're basically the same.
Yeah.
I mean, the only difference for me was like, I don't know, I can pick up more body language now. Not that I couldn't before, but I get to see what you're looking at. I also get to see that, like we talked about, I am not a face watcher. Like, I'm actually watching your face the whole time, but I'm not looking at you. So like, I see you staring at me the whole time. Like, I even see you going, when's he going to look at me? When's he going to look at me? When's he going to, oh, he looked at me. There he goes.
Fuck, you read that. Damn.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because that's how I am. I reserve looking you in the face for either dead ass serious moments when I really need you to hear me, or when I really, really want to like penetrate your head. And I don't look at people in the face unless I need to. It's just a thing. It's not even an intimidation thing. It's like, it just feels impolite. It feels like I'm looking to, it feels like an impolite thing.
I'm actually kind of curious about that because I was raised the opposite. Like, just out of curiosity for the people in chat, like, I was always taught that was respectful. You meet somebody in the eye, especially like when they're talking to you, you're talking to them. Like, you don't look other places or anything. But then, yeah, other people, it's like, no, it's very uncomfortable. So I don't know. I use it because I found out a lot of people find it very intimidating. So fuck it, I'll use it. I don't care about eye contact.
Yeah, it's not, like I said, it's not even intimidation on my end. It's more like, it's almost like there's a door open and it's like, I feel like you're naked. Like, it's already enough that I can see you out of the corner of my eye and know what you're thinking half the time. When I look somebody dead in the eye, I now, like, I can see how much everything I say, it's like staring at the sun. It feels impolite. I feel like I see too much. And like, I can notice, like, just by the little quavers in people's eyes, like what they're thinking, what they're doing in their head, like how it affected them. And it's kind of weird. It makes me uncomfortable because it's like, I don't know. It's almost like every thought coming through. So I don't like it. And if I really, really want to get, like, I'll do it when I want to get intimidating. Like, I will suddenly like that's, to me, it's like I'm threatening you when I look you in the face. Like, to me, like, I reserve that for like either I'm about to fuck you or fuck you up. So I glance at faces. I look occasionally at faces, but I don't lock on your face because I don't have to. Like, I see you, I could be looking over here and I see your face perfectly fine. So I feel weird doing it.
Okay, that actually answers a lot. I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
It sounds like actually more people are more in agreement with you than sounds like Behemoth's on my side. Behemoth and me too. Hermit doesn't think about it. Joffer, oh fuck, I'm back to fucking up names again. I apologize ahead of time. Looking the opposite gender and authority in the face is disrespect or forward in most cultures. Alistair says, always worry about setting off the person I'm looking at with prolonged eye contact. Jockster says, eye contact with slow blinks.
I like that one. No, I agree with Alistair. Like, that's literally how I see it. Prolonged eye contact is like a challenge. And it's like, where I grew up, in the neighborhoods I grew up with, it takes a while before you like really look people in the eye for long. And, you know, it's kind of like, I don't want to sound like I'm so fucking hood, but it's one of those things like, if you looked at somebody too long, they'd be like, what the fuck are you looking at? And it becomes like, because you just don't do it, right? It's not like, why are you fucking staring at me? And it's a thing you reserve for when you want it to matter. So it's almost like it is almost like you're bearing your heart to the person. When I'm not looking you in the face, I have an advantage. I could be looking at anything and I can lock my gaze on it, and my face can look blank. Like, I don't know how much my face gives away what I'm thinking, but I have a feeling it's less because I'm not watching your face. Like, I'm not opening that bridge to you. I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm over here looking at this rock.
I think it might reveal more than you think, but also it's kind of like you're muffled too. So
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
got to listen more carefully to that face.
So Laura says, "What the fuck are you looking at?" So true. I mean, it is how it feels. I'm not saying I don't look at anybody in the face. It's just not. It's.
Yeah.
I mean, you can ask my wife. I don't know how much I look her in the face, but it's probably less than I probably should. I guess I don't know. Even my wife, like I look at her like it's like I'm either about to fuck you or fuck you up. Pick one. I don't know which it's gonna be.
I sometimes one can lead to the other too.
Mm-hmm. And it's also like
Oh.
if I am looking you in the face for intimidation purposes, I'm not looking you in the face. I'm looking at your forehead. So I'm not gonna look. I'm not gonna be like. I'm not gonna look you right in the eye when I'm gonna look at your forehead or something, so that it's like I'm not even really looking at you.
That's like I've been listening to the Harry Dresden or the Dresden Files books recently, and that's like a whole thing in there. Like you don't look a wizard in the eye because it initiates the soul. What is it, soul bond or soul gaze, whatever, and it's two-way street. You can see each other's deepest secrets. Just
it's definitely clearer. It's definitely clearer, and I feel like you can see more about me when I look you in the face than otherwise. And it's not that I have much to hide. But I think the people saying many apes thinks it's a challenge, and that's how it is. It's like it's not that I can't do the challenge; it's that I don't want to. It's like why would I ball my fists at you unless I want to? It's that spectrum of feeling. It's either got to be a real intimate trust moment, or it's got to be I want to fight you. And I don't. I mean, it's one thing if you go like, all right, if I go to the store and like the guy behind the counter is like blah blah blah. Yeah, of course I'll look him in the face for that, right? That's a different kind of exchange. But like the waiters, I never like it's hard for me to look a waiter in the face. It's something weird. It feels like I'll look at them in the face when they first greet me, and then the rest of the time it's usually I got food in my mouth or some shit, so I kind of like don't want to acknowledge that I'm talking to a person right there because I feel rude because I got food in my mouth. It's not even because like I look at them like, oh, I shouldn't be talking to the help. It's kind of the exact opposite. I feel bad that I'm sitting there like with someone who's not eating, watching me eat, and it's like, don't like, can you go away until I wave at you or something?
I'll give you. Oh shit, maybe that's why waiters do it, because they always approach you when you got food in your mouth. Because even me, like, I mean, you see how much I maintain eye contact. Like, I can't do that either. I'm just.
It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
It's something about it, and it's like. I don't know. I mean, it's not that I don't know. If you watch me long enough, you'll see when I'm okay with doing it and when I'm not. And it's not, there's no set rules like now is the time, now is not. It's when it feels right. And I find myself intentionally going, oh yeah, he likes to see faces. Look him in the face. All right. And I'll look up and I'm just like, like I'm literally like trying not to fucking not feel anything at that moment. And then it's like, it's over. It's like, okay, I looked him in the face a little bit. He probably feels better. Oh, wow. Okay, good. We're good for 10 minutes.
Well, hey, now that I know that, I'm not tripping about it.
No, don't ever think it's like, it's, my friends always notice that too. We'd be driving in the car. And I will notice their facial expressions. I'll be looking out the freaking passenger window and somehow I'll know they're smiling. Like, I know you're smiling. It's like it may also be an introvert thing. Like it could also be as much as I'm outgoing, I'm still actually at heart like a half and half. I'm an introverted extrovert. I love doing public things. I don't mind speaking in public. I don't mind any of that.
I hope not.
No, I'm fine with it. It's I'm not saying I won't be nervous at all. It's just that it's not something that makes me uncomfortable.
It's the getting it's the walking out to do the thing is always nerve-wracking. Actually doing the thing is not nearly as bad. It's like you were saying the other day.
It depends on what I read on my audience. If I feel like I'm in a tough room to start with, I'm going to be nervous. If I feel confident that the room is cool, then I'm going to come out like a boss. And I always try to get myself.
Yeah, you let the hammer hang.
Yeah, a little bit. Whenever I do an interview with someone who wants to do an interview with me, I like to get to know their interview style beforehand, so I know I need to get a baseline read on them before I get into it. this way, when I actually do the interview, I know like whether I can be confident with them or if I have to be more quiet, what kind of things to say. Now, I don't know what I'm going to say tomorrow night specifically to this audience because it's going to be a new environment, new people. There's going to be a lot of people coming. When I say a lot, I mean like 5 or 10. Like, I mean, it's a lot, to be fair. I don't want to sound like there's like 100 people coming. There's going to be like 5 or 10 people coming from our group that I really look forward to meeting and thanking them for coming. Like, some of them are coming by plane. I want to also, Alpha, if you're watching right now, I didn't see if you're watching. I think she is. Yeah, Alpha's there.
Yeah.
Alpha, let's everybody, I want everybody in the chat right now to say thank you, Alpha, who is coming to Newark, because she's acting like our little scout, and she's gone like a day early, and she's checked out the whole area, and she's giving me feedback on what it's like, what to look out for, because it is a little bit of a it's a little shady. It's not. I've seen worse. I've seen the video, and I'm like, oh, that looks like downtown, like South Huntington. That doesn't look that bad. Like Huntington Station. That looks like Huntington Station. It's not that bad. But at night, who knows? It might get more sketchy. So she's being like a good scout. She's going around. She's looking at the places. She's walking the neighborhood. She's checking out the hotel. And so for everybody coming, make sure you're in the East Coast Meetup channel on Discord before everything tomorrow so we can coordinate. What we're going to do is we're going to be meeting up probably in whatever lobby they have a little bit early. And we're probably going to all head over together roughly the same time. We'll probably head over like 7:30, 7 o'clock to the club, and they don't let anybody in till 8. They're probably going to let me in a little bit early, like 5-10 minutes or a half hour. But I think they're only going to let me in early. So we'll probably all leave together as a group. Probably, I'm anticipating like somewhere between 7 and 10 people total. So, which is pretty decent for our first time out. So we're all going to meet at like the hotel. Those of us who are staying at the hotel. Anybody who's just going to go to the venue, like, you're kind of on your own. So hopefully, like, we'll coordinate on Discord and say like when we're going to walk over there.
Yeah, just look for the group that's all in like leather. Like, you're gonna know. Like, we'll have code names. Like, come over. We'll give you a code name. We'll travel. We'll have a point man like operating and everything, checking corners for us.
Well,
like, it's gonna be good.
That was Alpha.
Yeah.
Alpha's good. In fact, she's living up to her name, Alpha. She's the first one in. Pretty cool, pretty good job. I'm proud. I'm very proud to have people like that.
Yes, very concise there, like very accurate simulacrum.
Yeah. No, I'm really proud and thankful that we can even get 5-10 people to come out on something like this. In a way, this is like a new thing. I don't think there's any community that's done this. EA hasn't done this. Nobody's done this, and I'm really proud to have even what other people might say, oh, it's not a lot of people. To me, this is a lot of people, because this is already a really niche community. This is already a very small group of people. Like, even let's say everybody in this community came together and watched a video at once, it might be 300 people, right? It's not as many people as it might sound. There may be thousands who subscribe, but there's only like any given time 300 people or so that really are into what we're into. So for the fact that we're getting 5 or 10 people to show up feels really good. It feels really good.
Yeah, especially because I don't know. I'm of the philosophy of, I mean, certainly for this, but with anything I'm doing in life, I would rather have 10 people that are all about whatever I'm doing and just like, yeah, we want to see more of that. We want to, like, how can we make that better or whatever, rather than having 1,000 people with eyeballs on my shit and like none of them are actually like interested or anything. Just like, oh, I'll give that a look and move on. Like, I want to interact with people. I want to know, like, hey, you're digging it just as much as I am.
I mean, I will say, like I said to you the other night, one of the things that I have sort of misstepped on, when I first got into this, I was very much behind, like, a veil, right? I was an unknown. I made sure to keep myself sort of impersonal with our community. And our community. When I say our community, by the way, guys, some people get on me like, we don't have a community. I mean, like, the online networked community. There's no other word for it. Like, what do you call that? When you got, like, because I know a lot of my fans and followers are people who like the people that I follow, like Behemoth and EA and VK Jahannam and all these other people. I know that everybody is sort of watching each other, and there's a lot, we share an audience, okay? So when I say the community, I'm talking about that audience. Now, I made myself not like separated from that community, but I didn't ever really make myself personal with that community. I always sort of projected a character, and I still do, but there is now a personal community there, like the Discord community and stuff like that. And it's weird because on the one hand, that's great. I've made some really cool friends out of this. You know, we met Eddie. I never met him, but, you know, we're going to meet him. We got Eddie, we got Lamia, we got CJ, we got, you know, some of Eddie's sort of friends that are in the community, Blood of the Eighth and Discount Dracula. And, you know, it's just these cool people. And you got other people, Steroid, that's been really freaking awesome. Steroid Maximus, you got Alpha, you got Atropa, you got Wyatt, you got all these people, you got Hecalitza, you got just all these people, right? I could name you all. Jackass, I could name you all. Like, you guys are all fucking awesome. But it's also, now I've got people that I wonder and worry, like, I don't want them to get wrong ideas about me, or so. Not that you will, but I don't, like, now I feel like it's more personal. And, you know, real talk, like, that makes it different. Like, when I first came out, I didn't care if people liked me or not. I just wanted to say what I wanted to say. And as I've now done this for a while, now I feel like I have a community that I represent, even if only like not like it's me that's representing the community, but like I am a representative of that community. And I don't want to put too much of the wrong foot forward. And I know I have on some areas, not wrong foot, but I've definitely asked for it. Like, I've definitely got shadow banned now, like, for sure. Like, I have people telling me all over the place, I never get your notifications anymore. I know what that means. It's probably a combination of shadow banned and their own algorithm if you're not watching my stuff, but I know some of you guys telling me this, you watch me constantly. So, like, why aren't you getting any notifications? I don't know. I know that my stuff, I can see by the analytics what's getting shared, not as much as it was. So when I put something out, it's not getting the sharing that it was getting. It's not getting they're not putting it in as many eyeballs as they used to. Like, whatever I've done, I've declared myself a bad risk for them, and that's that. But the good news is,
hey, if you're pissing people off, then you must be doing something right.
You must be doing something. Well, that's not always true, but yeah, that's something to that.
I mean, look at it on the opposite end. If everybody likes what you're doing, must be doing something wrong.
Yeah, you're probably selling out somewhere. Like we were talking about, what was that thing? You try to make me starve. Like, you should tell that before we're done.
Man, I wish I could find that to send people to it.
You can summarize it though. That'll probably be good enough. Like we were talking about. We'll get into that in 1 second, but I want to finish up this thought.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I'm kind of glad because I'm in good company. You know, there's a lot of really good thinkers and speakers out there that are challenging this monopoly on tech. And they're getting deplatformed, or they're getting content struck over nothing. And they're opening up to what we used to call alt tech. We need to start calling it the new tech, because YouTube has joined the mainstream. Like, they're mainstream media now. YouTube is no longer like some kind of alternative source. It is now basically, you know, the internet version of the mainstream media. That means not just the news. I mean, everything that's corporate, okay, is now YouTube now, which means that all the things we hate about corporations is now a YouTube thing. It used to be YouTube was a little edgy, even if it was like vanilla edgy, it was still edgy. Now it's corporate bullshit. Don't say this, don't say that. Bottom line is, you know, we have to make sure that the big media companies don't get too threatened by you, so we're going to demote you if you get too big. NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, all these things for news, and Disney, and really it's just Disney now. Shit, like, really, who else is it? Disney and Sony. You know, we have to make sure that we protect their interests in our platform. So anything that threatens them, automatically, it's a double standard. And we know that. This just recently happened with Russell Brand. He made a video where he made a small error in a video, and they struck him for misinformation. Like, excuse me, how much misinformation is out there that even the mainstream media puts out and they don't get struck for it? Don't give me this bullshit about this. This is a tactic that they're using to try to control narratives, not just in politics, in everything. And just because it doesn't affect you, and because it's maybe not your politics, or maybe you're like, well, I don't care about politics, so it's never going to affect me. That's wrong. It's just not affecting you yet. This is why everybody on this planet should be required to memorize if maybe not memorize the poem, but memorize the like read it and fully integrate the poem The Hangman by Maurice Ogden. If you don't fucking know that poem, you don't understand what's wrong with everything that's going on right now, because what they'll do is they'll single somebody out that's low-hanging fruit, somebody that if you censor them, it's like nobody cares. It's Alex Jones, he's a lunatic, who cares? It's whoever it is, right? And yes, you may not love what they're saying. You may think that some of it's problematic. I get that. But as long as they're not breaking laws and talking about like child porn or something stupid, CP, then why not just let them be out there and let the arguments correct the thing? Sunlight disinfects everything. And the more you put stuff in the dark with censorship, the more they have to go underground. Now, you think that kills them. But what that does is it makes them edgy and cool, and now the kids want to know about it. So you're really not making it better by doing that. You're really just making it edgier and cooler. You're slowing its growth down, but you're not stopping it. If anything, you're making it cooler to know about. So that's sort of what it is kind of like. It's a backfire, but it's like, stop it. You're just making things worse. And I wish they would. But now that they're doing this to even bigger and bigger names that have done literally nothing wrong, everybody sees this, and now they're moving to these new tech platforms. They're moving to Rumble. They're moving to BitChute. They're moving to Odyssey. The problem, though, is these other platforms don't really have content creators that are doing stuff other than politics on them, because politics is where most of the deplatforming is happening. Some of it is happening to people like us, but most of it's for politics. So it's like, I get all my
the
politics.
first wave is always the people who got kicked off the other platform.
Right.
We need a mix of all of them.
We need everybody on there. Okay. And I'm in a way look, I feel like the thing that happened to EA was like one of the shittiest fucking things I've seen happen to, he's not a political person. He's not a fucking right wing anything. He is definitely in the libertarian spectrum. I wouldn't call him like a philosophical libertarian. He just is like, it's built into him to want to be left alone and to do his own thing and not hurt people necessarily or whatever, don't hurt me, I don't hurt you type of mentality. And he gets, because of that, and because of that past he gets railroaded off of YouTube for nothing, for being a productive member of YouTube for 10, 15 years, having a pretty decently sized channel. He gets deplatformed for nothing, nothing that he did. He did nothing. Slandered, mocked, the whole works. His enemies
we'll use you while you're useful.
Yeah, and now he's gone. And it's like, okay, not even a warning, not even like you shouldn't say, could you give us a statement? Nothing, just you're gone now. For something you didn't even do on the platform. He never even did anything wrong on the platform. Nothing he did on the platform was wrong. He never broke their rules as far as I know. He never had any content violations, nothing. It was literally just somebody made a news article about you, bye. This is the epitome of the worst kinds of actual fascism, by the way, because a lot of this is government connected. I don't want to get too Paul on you, Fleshy, but I think this is Paul you like talking about a little bit. But it's disgusting, and in a way it's a mixed blessing that this happened to EA, because it meant that some people have to follow one of us to another platform. And it's like I feel bad that it happened to him. And it's like, I'm glad it didn't happen to me, to be brutally honest. But I'm also I'm glad that it happened because he gets to build the audience there. And it kind of let him start over a little bit. So, make sure you are following him on Odyssey, by the way. Make sure you go to Odyssey and follow him. The more people we get using these alternative platforms for something other than politics, the more these other platforms will compete with these asshole ones. These asshole platforms will have to stop doing this because they're losing money. And eventually that will matter. Look, a corporation can only play politics for so long before the bottom line catches up to them and they have to stop. It's just a fact of the nature.
And I think it's just good. Even if you don't see any malice in YouTube or anything like that, I think it's still good just to support the other platforms because let's face it, YouTube's the only big one. Or screw YouTube, like anything. If any corporation has like just the monopoly that it has and is just sitting on that, they don't need to innovate. They can get lazy and everything. So just throw a bone to the other guys. Make the big guys have to compete and actually get better and listen to what the little guy is saying. It's good. It makes a nice little whirlpool that stops the stagnant water from getting fucking mosquitoes.
Look, you don't have to like capitalism to understand that monopolies are bad, right? And one of the problems that people have with, we'll say, the opposite of capitalism is that it gives the state the monopoly instead of having corporations have the monopoly. It just means you're just giving a different monopoly to a different person. The goal is to have such a system where a monopoly can't fuck everything up. And that's hard to do the way things are now. Again, it didn't used to be, but it's like that now again. And we need the competition. So you need to support the competition. It's like you might not like Coke, you might prefer Pepsi, but if Coke didn't exist, Pepsi would suck. Right? You might not like Twitter, but if Twitter didn't exist, then you wouldn't have these other things that are building up. If you didn't like Facebook, if you didn't like YouTube, YouTube's like the cool thing about YouTube's fucking up is that of all the platforms, YouTube is spawning the better alternatives compared to all these others. Like I think that there will come a time when things like Twitter, and Facebook, they all die. I think that day will come. Something else will replace them. I mean, like in terms of people just won't like that stuff anymore. They'll go the way of MySpace is what I'm saying. Not just because people will move on to Twitter 2.0. I mean, that modality of social media will eventually die away. I think eventually, I may hate it, but I think things like TikTok will eventually take over comparatively. I hate it. Trust me. That's like I have to pick my teeth with some lead. But I think it's a fact that's eventual. But the more competition there is in these different outlets, the better. How we do that, that's up to the governments and the people. But I would like at least just at the very least organic competition to be the major factor. Like that would be the best way. I don't want laws to make that happen.
And hey, I'll even extend this to like if you. Let's keep it within this community here. If you see that everybody else is doing shit that you don't like or you think it should be done differently or anything like that, it's do it yourself.
Right.
And be the change you want to see. Like don't it's gonna make everybody else have to compete with you. Like, and it's hey, it's tough. It's tough to do, but be the change.
I mean, how often am I looking at another person doing this going, I wish there was nobody else, but I never would do that. I'm glad, even the ones that I don't like, that I won't watch or that I wouldn't associate, I look at them and I go, unless they're just an asshole because they're an asshole. Even if I go, like, I don't agree with anything they're doing, I'm still looking at them going, like, yes, keep going, keep building your community up, keep building your thing because this eventually makes it better for everybody. It's never been a thing where it's like, I should be the only one talking about this. Yes, I sound opinionated, but that doesn't mean I don't want to hear other opinions. It just means that this is what I know. This is what I've experienced. Bam, take it or leave it. And I want other people to do that. In fact, I encourage everybody, like, start your own YouTube channel. Start talking about your magic. Start talking about your experiences. Talk about whatever. Look at Wyatt. Wyatt's done it. Now, Wyatt's a young kid. He's got a little following he's got, and he just keeps going and he keeps doing his little streams and his videos. And to me, that's a good thing, right? I think that's good.
Oh yeah, that's fucking sick.
All it does is it just ends up meaning that there's more of a conversation going about these things, and it normalizes it enough so that even if you don't have this aesthetic, maybe you look at me and go, you're just an edgy boomer, and I'm not a boomer, which I find that funny. You're just some edgy Gen X boomer that is, doing this shit. And like, Fleshy, is this an act or is this how I actually walk around?
We have photos to prove how you just walk around. Like, it's fucking great.
It's not. This isn't some edgy act. I've always done this. And it's not that I want to normalize this for everybody. This is just my personal style. If you're like a fucking ball cap wearing, fucking Cheeto fingers.
I want to see the guy watching you just like, I love everything you have to say, but your colors hurt my eyes. Like you need to have pastels and everything. Like make that, do it.
I you spit my fucking drink. Pastels. Oh my god. You mean like Golden Dawn? Like you mean like Thelema? Isn't that Thelema? I think that's Thelema.
I,
Yeah, they're like rainbow goths, like Thelema. Not that way. No, they really are. Like they use a lot of color. That's one thing I'll give credit to that I like about that. Not that I do it myself. I actually very monochromatic in my palette use, but like some of my favorite art is black and white. Like I think black and white art is just, to me, it's the coolest. But one of the cool things that, you know, Golden Dawn, Crowley, Thelema, I don't know if it's because of I feel like it's because of their connection to Indian stuff. Someone could correct me if they know better. But their usage of the rainbow and using color theory as part of their work, you know, associating things with color. Though I think it's ugly in a lot of cases because it's just me. My aesthetic is this. But I think it was brilliant, and I think it was a really, you know, it helps people understand the energy relationships between things.
Yeah, and it's just good to have things out there as an option, because even if you're not going to connect with it, it can help others do better. And it's always just nice to be able to see and go, not for me, but it's there. I can always turn to it.
Yeah. So Wyatt says, no, black is the best. All right, we've made it. We converted another one. So this is what I want you guys to do. Since Fleshy's never here, right? He's taken a vacation. He's had his life, you know, and he needed a break from social media. Dude, I totally get that. Give Fleshy, number one, a thank you, but give him a question. Ask Fleshy a question. What's he been doing? What's he working on? What's his favorite, you know, yogurt flavor now? Like, give him questions, guys.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna have to tell that story. We were walking around. He's basically just dressed the exact same way he is right now. Camilla's in like a trench coat. I'm wearing a fucking like cloak and shit and all black underneath it. We're walking down the pier and go into a candy store, and this guy's looking at us like there's some school shooters. They're a little old for the school, but they're like something's gonna happen. And we go into this candy store and we just get like the most sugary ice cream, and I'm sitting there just, I really feel like frozen yogurt. I go over and I get the bright pink and bright yellow frozen yogurt
version. You got the June edition.
Dude, I made us look so.
Dude, I had a big bowl of vanilla. Like, what are you talking about? Like, mine didn't look like some kind of like goth ice cream. I had a bowl of vanilla, dude. Like, I'm like Hank Hill. People are like, oh, you don't like chocolate? What's wrong with good old fashioned vanilla?
Like anybody who was nervous about us, I'm sure as soon as they saw us walk out, which is, this is our favorite ice cream. Just no, they're not. They couldn't hurt anybody if they tried.
Well, that's not true, but. We wouldn't want to.
Know.
I'm more likely to pick you up off the ground than I am to kick you there, but don't test that. Please don't test it. Like I have a limit. Like when my limit's broke, then it's different. But it's not my go-to. It's one of those things where I'm sort of like an octopus or a spider. You're like, yeah, I could fuck you up, but I don't like it. I would rather run away. I really don't want to. And you could maybe squish me anyway. So I'd probably not. I'm more of a, you know, I don't know how to put it. I'm definitely not a coward about it at all, but it's more like I don't want to. I really don't want to. I don't like what I turn into when I do get angry. I really don't.
You know,
when
anybody who like wants to go out and hurt somebody, that's like,
yeah. Well, no, here's the thing. A lot of guys go like, I couldn't wait to beat your ass. I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to do it. I don't want to go there. It's the last thing I want to do because I think I had a belly full of it growing up. You know, when like I said, there's a reason that it's not that I don't like to look in your eyes because I'm scared of you. It's because where I grew up, it's a challenge. And so you ended up, I got into a lot of fights growing up. I like people I know, like I talk to like my son. I'm like, well, how many fights do you see? Like, oh, like maybe like once a month somebody fights, or, you know, I was like, sometimes there was some years I was in a fight like once a week. It wasn't a big fight. It was like, but it was a fight. And it's like, I don't want to go back to that life. Like it wasn't as cool as it sounds. It's not cool. It's like, You know, you're always watching over your shoulder for
It,
somebody.
it sounds cool to the people who have never lived it.
Hmm. And it's like you're always watching over your shoulder for somebody, and you know, even if you usually win them or you usually come out on top, there's always tomorrow, and there's always some price to pay somewhere. You know, like there's times where I've won the fight or the argument or whatever, and I feel like an asshole because it's like, but was I really right? You know, like was it really worth it? Was it really worth it for me to do that? Like, could I have just walked away? Maybe that's just my empathy coming through. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't feel empathy for it. I just feel like, was it necessary to do that? And most of the time, no. Most of the time it wasn't worth that. It wasn't worth to be right. You know, it's not worth that much. If I get attacked, that's a different story. But if it's like I'm throwing the first punch or something, no, I feel wrong. Like I always go, I probably didn't need to do that. So that was me when I was 18, 19, 15, yes, 12, 9, you know, not now. So now I'm like all bark, no bite, like in a way, unless I really, 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 really have to be. Then all bets are off. But I don't like it, dude. It's not. I like to pretend. I like to train. I like to do that stuff. I don't like to do it.
Well,
like I'm a pacifist.
That and it's just the training is fun. It gives you something to do, and it's just
But I
Working
don't
out
train that
feels
much.
nice.
I prefer to train. I don't train that much anymore. I got to be honest with you. But I am actually a pacifist. Like I really am. I wasn't always, but I am now. I've been a pacifist for like 30 years. I don't believe in violence unless it's unavoidable. And that goes for spellcraft too. Like I don't curse willy-nilly. Some people are like, I curse every other week. All right, fine. That's if that's your life, that's cool. But I'd rather work on me. And I would rather, work on things that I love, people I love. I'm not a love and lighter, that's for sure. But I don't feel like it's worth it.
I would have never have guessed. This is the absolute love and life aesthetic.
It is.
What are you pretender?
Honestly, no. I mean, this is the other thing that I've found over the years. You know who the people who are the real love and light? People like us. I'm not. Everybody in the comments, tell me if you think I'm making this up. The people sitting in this type of situation, most of the people in the chat are probably more like an actual love and lighter than the love and lighters are. Are you raising the light? You're raising the light, you dick.
That's not me. My hands are off the cell phone.
I never should have given you control over my lighting. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely more.
If I'm going to be accused of the crime, I might as well actually commit it then. Hold on.
Is it Camilla doing it? It's probably Camilla doing it. I think it's Camilla doing it. Unless it's on the timer, but why did it go to a light color when I usually set it to go dark at night? I'm
I don't know. What do you think he looks good in?
I look like Fleshy now. Oh.
Not gay enough. Show us your nipples. No, don't do that.
I don't know if I'm offended or thankful. I don't know. Like Jesus, that's.
I'm gonna answer. I was gonna complain about this because you're making me do stuff now, but then I remembered I'm in your house now. So
I have dishes out there if you want to do.
I was planning on doing it later.
I got the feather dusters too.
Some people asked some questions of me as you instructed. Roxy Love, do you have any projects going on Fleshy? Just trying to learn more about programming and trying to do all of that jazz just because it's fun and it's like making your own puzzles and then learning what an idiot you are when you can't solve them. Fleshling, what hath thou done in carpentry from Jockster? Not a lot. Not a lot, unfortunately. I do not get to work with wood as often as I used to. I'm mostly instructing other people on how to. And the last one I saw from Wyatt Coverdale. There we go. It jumped on me. Time to carry on the tradition for starters. How have things been going? You've been gone for quite some time. Also, do you intend on doing anything with your channel? Weird videos there. I might just film. I keep looking over there like you're visible. I think I might try to record some of the like behind the scenes or whatever of tomorrow. Just like, hey, you guys couldn't make it, but this is what it's like at the keynote speech and everything. So
I think that'll be dope, actually. Like, you got to send me all those, because I'll stitch them all together, or you do it and send it to my channel, and I'll fucking, like, that would be a dope video. I think it would be fun, because I want, like, make sure when you come to this event, whoever's coming, make sure you let us know, like, you don't mind being taped, because we're gonna. You can tell how old I am because I say tapes, can't you? You're gonna get recorded, and so make sure if you don't want us to record you, you make sure it's clear, because we're gonna be recording occasionally, maybe secretly, like, surprise, like, boo boo, we got you. So we might even do like little interviews and like introductions, like, hey, what's up, like, especially beforehand, because the way this is gonna work is a lot of us are going to be meeting at the hotel, and then we're going to go to the club from there. Those of us who aren't going to be at the hotel, we will probably go back to the hotel after the club. So there's probably going to be some hangout time. So
we should make, that's going to be like a horror movie, because like somebody's going to summon a demon. We'll have like the shaky cam footage before. It's going to be like Cloverfield, and then the demon comes out and gets us. Like, who's going to post it though? We need a survivor.
I have absolutely no intention of doing any rituals during this. I know there was talk from, I believe, Lamia and Eddie. They might be doing something either there or the night before something. There was talk on the Discord. I don't know what they're planning. I'm not involved in that. My main feeling is that it's one thing to do rituals live on a camera. I'm still alone with my own energy, right? It's another thing to do it with somebody that I'm comfortable with. It's another thing. It's not that I couldn't do them in front of other people, but this to me is a social call. Like, this is a social event. And I generally think that when I do rituals, there's a very, very intimate quality to them, where it's one thing to record them. Believe it or not, it doesn't feel the same when you're recording it. When you're doing them with an audience, a group audience that's live, this changes the energy dynamic so much that on the one hand, it's very beneficial if everybody in attendance has some degree of competency and is on the same level and will be responding the same way to the ritual that the operator is. But if there is just some kind of rando audience of people that you don't know what they know, they might be in a completely different current in their mindset, it can really kind of do nothing. Like, I've watched, like, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I like what you said with current, because the way I look at it is, if you just have a phone, if you have that one digital piece of equipment there, it's like, I don't know, trying to fly a glider and you turn on a fan, something like that. It's just, you know exactly where it's going, you know exactly how strong it is. When you have a bunch of other people over there, it's currents that change constantly. This is getting hot and blowing up that way, and now it's going over that way. And at least if you know the person, you know what you can expect. But when it's just randos, that's just chaos. That's a cyclone that you can't control, you can't predict, and everything's just going to go to hell.
And so it's like difficult. I said, even with a live stream ritual, like I've done a few, those are muted by comparison to what it can be like alone. I really hope we get a chance for me and you to do one before you leave, so that you can see and feel if there's a difference. And maybe it won't be different for you, because it's going to be a weird alien environment for you. It may be you, it may be me. But when it is with it, like, I've watched, I guess you call them witches or whatever. I've watched them do the live stuff, and it's like, I feel like I'm at church, if that makes sense. I don't feel like there's anything really, it's not that there's anything wrong with them. It's not that their rituals are bad. It's that I feel like I'm at church, and it's like, I don't feel any major shift. I feel like this reminds me of church when people would suddenly talk in tongues. I could feel that it was pretty much all some degree of bullshit. Not to say that there was never examples of that where, like, no, that was weird. It's more like, this is a peer pressure game. This is something, this isn't what it looks like. I know it's not, because I've been possessed. I know what this is like. This speaking in tongue shit, this is mostly just, I'm going with the flow. I don't want to stand out. I don't want to look different. When you're actually in the throes of spiritual, it's different. Okay, it's just different. That's not to say nobody gets it, by the way. I want to make sure I contain this a little bit, like, in a polite way, that for the, like, if you go to like one of these church events and they do the speaking in tongues and people get slain in the spirit, the larger percentage, anywhere from 60 to 80%, 90%, maybe even 99%, it's more of a peer pressure effect. There are people though that literally do get raptured. Like they do get channeled. They do get, you can tell, okay? Like there is like, if you're sensitive, you can go, nope, they're real. That one just fell over. Like they're just trying to look like everybody else. But that person over there, they may have even started out pretending, but no, they're literally tripping balls right now. I can tell. Now, what is that? Is that Jesus did it to him? Is it Christ did it to him? No, they are connecting with source though. There is a connection. This is what, like you guys should watch a little Eckhart Tolle. Like he's a little love and light, yes, but he's not wrong. He's right about a lot. And he's one of the better ones, like him and Rupert Spira, Eckhart Tolle, Alan Watts. These are all, they're actually morality neutral in a lot of ways. They're just wise. They're just right. And it's not about morality. It's not about love and light. It is their right. And if you pay attention to what they're saying, you'll find that all of them indicate that what we think of, most people think of, not me necessarily, but what most people think of as a literal deity, right, is a mask for source, just like you're a mask for source. You're a mask for the divine. You're a mask for God. And so are these things. Now, for some people, they come through really real. They are very fleshed out. They come through just as real as me or you. And those people, it's not that they're more special or crazy or anything like that. That is just their modality of connection to source, okay? In a way, there's an advantage because you get a more vivid connection, but the disadvantage is you're more inclined to externalize it. When you see a deity more literally than someone else. So let's say you and I do a ritual and I see it more internally as almost my imagination, but it's very vivid. It's very spontaneous. It feels real, but not in an externalized way. Whereas you sit here, just as an example, not that this would happen to you, you'll sit here and you'll go, no, I literally saw it in the room. I know it's real. It's God. That's God. God's over there. I'm over here. There's an externalization, meaning a separateness. The simulacrum that you're experiencing is more vivid and more separate. It's more about separation than mine. So whereas I'm seeing this deity as a reflection of my higher self, not my higher personal self, my higher absolute self, the divine self, you're seeing it as not anything part of you. You see it as a completely separate entity. The advantage for you is you're going to take it maybe more seriously, or maybe it's going to just be more fun, perhaps, per se. But for me, it's going to be more personal. It's going to be more, this is a piece of my ultimate self that I'm encountering. So I'm going to be more inclined to integrate it and not see it as an external thing. I'm going to go, that's a part of me that I just talked to, and I've got to work with that. They're both right. They're both right. It's just a different way of seeing the same thing.
I think it's a lot easier for most people to engage with the externalization, because I don't know. It's kind of like when you see it all as being a part of you, it's like, oh, so you're saying this sandbox that I was in the whole time, it's all just that? Which is really powerful, but also, I don't know, maybe it's just because of, maybe this is saying more about me than anything, but like my perception of what it was growing up. Whereas that externalization, it's just, I gotta hand it to him with this. It's so much more fun. The stories are so much more groovy, like engaging. If you were to make a Hollywood film, I want the externalized version. Like that tends to be a lot cooler visually.
Well, spoiler alert, you can have both. The thing is, one is easier to transcend. The other one is no less valuable. It's just there's a higher risk of externalizing the important stuff. But it is a stepping stone situation. You've got to start somewhere. People who start with the wrong story, let me give you a little hint. If everything's the same divine being, and we are, if we're all the same divine being, we're all inevitably going to have the realization of that, whether it's this lifetime or another experience entirely. And what you're experiencing, it's not that the goal is to realize that. One of the things that I disagree with mainstream things like Buddhism and all of these kind of traditions that are Enlightenment ontologies One of the things that I disagree with their exoteric teaching. Now, on the esoteric side, they do tell you this sort of like it does become clear, but you have to get there. But the external teaching is one of rejection. You reject the delusion. You reject this as if the goal is to ascend into liberation and be free of this mortal coil. This is a carrot on the stick. Okay, if you're seeking, you're eventually going to reach a point where you're sick of seeking. You're going to give up. In that giving up, you're going to go, "Oh shit, that was the point. That was the enlightenment that I'm looking for. It's the relinquishing of this anxiety of I'm not supposed to be here. That's the forgiveness that Yeshua, Jesus, whatever you want to call it, whatever your mythology says he was truly teaching. That's the point. In his era, the whole you can be forgiven just by saying believing in me, whatever. That's the equivalent of realizing you're divine. It's the equivalent of the Buddhist, enlightenment. Okay, it really was for those people that was as big a relief. Oh, I don't have to worry about sin. I'm forgiven. Oh, there's your enlightenment. Bang. They're liberated at that moment to some degree. Okay, you can say you hate that, think it's stupid all you want, be an edgy teenager that hates Christianity all day long, but that in that time frame is what it was. Now, you have to get people. The average person has been the divine incarnate in that person has built up this sandcastle, this belief in reality, the simulacrum as being real, but it's not. Okay, it's not that it doesn't represent something real, it does, but it itself is not real. Just like the desktop on your computer isn't real, it represents something real. There's no actual trash bin on your computer. There's just you probably can explain it better than me, Fleshy. There's a set of instructions that will literally just say, okay, you can overwrite this part of the hard disk now. That's literally all it does. But it looks like a waste bin because that's a linguistic simulacrum representation of something real. We don't see the noumenal, okay? So this is the thing I disagree with these different systems about, is instead of giving it to you straight, like some people need, they take you all the way around the path. Now, when I say I disagree with them, let me be clear in what I mean by that. I don't mean that they shouldn't do what they're doing. Quite the opposite. One thing I strongly agree with them about is there are Buddhist ways for Buddhists, there's Hindu ways for Hindus, there's Christian ways for Christians. All of them will eventually lead to the same liberation. The thing I'm getting at is that when you sell it as liberation, it makes it about the liberation. But the divine doesn't want to be liberated yet, fool. If it did, it would be. There's nothing that would stop it. It's the divine. You're going to tell me that God can't do what it wants to do? Of course it can. There's no reason why you shouldn't be enlightened if that's really what the divine wanted. The truth is, the divine wants for nothing. If the divine wanted for something, that would mean that it was powerless to have it in that moment. Like it's something it lacks. Well, the divine doesn't lack anything. If the divine is here now, in the confusion of the incarnate state, that's because that's what it wants to be. And when I say wants to, I mean that is what it's doing. That is its intention. That is its will right now. I say want because there's no other word to use for the average conversation. The divine is here because this is where it wants to be. It wants to experience this lie, this simulacrum. If it didn't, it wouldn't. So you're going to go through this game of waking up. But if you think the point of life is to wake up and realize you're God, you've already put it in a place where it doesn't exist. You've already made it outside yourself. And you don't realize, like, you're just telling me how much you don't understand what's going on. If you say, Thorne, you're wrong, the whole point of this life is to realize that this is a dream and you need to leave it and put it behind, all you're telling me is that you're sick of life. You're not telling me that you really understand, because ironically, the same school of thought, the Buddhist school of thought, which I love, as much as it teaches liberation, it also teaches you, if you're not willing to go through this life 5,000 more times in a row, you're not liberated. In fact, if I say to you, okay, you can be liberated, but you have to go through this life 5,000 more times exactly like this, if you're not like, ooh, goody, I can't wait, you're not liberated.
Yeah, if you can't honestly say that you want to live one of those lives, you're willing to live one of those lives in Detroit, you're not ready.
Right? You don't understand yet. And now when we say that, maybe that should be like given the, you know, when we say you should be looking forward to it, that doesn't mean like, sign me up. I really, really want to live that now, like in this life. Everything has its season. Everything is meant to live what it's meant to live right now. Everything is meant to be what it's meant to be. You are where you are because that is where the divine wills to be. Okay. And it's not that those people over there are better, those people over there are worse, or that you should be like, yeah, beat me up. Okay. It is more along the lines of if I said to you, you're going to have a nightmare tonight, how many of you would be scared of that? Think about your answer for a minute. If I said to you, you're going to definitely have a nightmare tonight, it's going to be a horrible nightmare, would you not go to sleep? Or would you be like, I wonder if this is going to be a good nightmare? I like my nightmares. I very rarely do I wake up and go, fuck, I wish I didn't dream that. That almost never happens to me. I almost always go, that was a cool nightmare. That was pretty cool. The ones that I don't like are the ones where I have like a real fight with someone I love. Those would be the ones where I kind of like, I don't want to dream those. But that just shows you what I got to work on.
I think there's a difference between anxiety dreams and nightmares too.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Well, like if I said you're gonna tonight in a dream you're gonna go through a zombie apocalypse and you're gonna die in a horrible, gruesome way in your dream. Some people would be like, that sounds cool as fuck, but a lot of people are like, I don't want to dream that. Which group are you in? Now that's just one example. Like think of something worse. Like I don't know. Think of something even worse. Think you're gonna watch all your family get blown up in a bomb, right? Something horrible like that.
Oof.
Where is your line? Find your line. This is shadow work time, by the way. Find your line. What makes you uncomfortable? What dream would make you uncomfortable enough that you would say, I would rather not? Not I would rather not, but like I would do something to prevent it. Like I would not go to sleep. I would forego something else. Maybe not like your own life or anything. Like no dream's that bad. But you would give something up for it. When you find something where you would say, I don't want to dream that to the point of this, you found something you've got to integrate. You found a shadow you got to deal with.
This is playing Would You Rather with yourself.
Yes. And this reveals stuff because if you're not honest with yourself, just don't even bother showing up to this game. Don't even bother being on the left-hand any path if you can't be honest with yourself. To thine own self be true above all things. Like you can lie to the world, but if you're lying to yourself, don't even show up. Don't even show up to work for this. Like this is not where you belong. You must be honest with yourself in excruciating ways sometimes, and that means you have to be honest about your love for yourself too. You can't hide that you love yourself. Like, I can't stand when people go, well, I don't think I'm pretty humble. Like, no, you're not. If you were really that humble, you wouldn't even wear clothes. Don't even tell me how humble you are. What do you wear deodorant? You're not humble. Don't fucking tell me you're humble. You want people to like you, dude. It's not about that. So
you want people to like you so much that you're telling them that you're humble so that they see you as a better person.
Yeah, that's 99%. I would rather you tell me how arrogant and shitty you are and then prove yourself wrong. Like, actions speak louder than words, and if you have to say it, it's probably not true. I'm not saying that's a rule. I'm saying it's a rule. And so that's just observations. Let me go to the chat. I'm finding myself like going off into the woods here.
I do have a couple questions that people have asked. I will have to scroll up to find them, but throwing that out there if you want something. And as a quick aside, CJ asked me a question. I have not, unfortunately, I hate to say, it's been one of those quiet seasons for me. I have put some of the magical stuff. I haven't dropped it or anything, but it hasn't been something that I've been actively developing recently. It's been quiet, so nothing interesting to report there.
Yeah, the thing about magic is, and all of this stuff. Alan Watts did a talk, and I think he quoted some Zen philosopher or something. This stuff is meant to be medicinal, not dietary. meaning meditation, meaning practices, meaning all of this stuff. It's not meant to be your life. Even if it becomes your life, it's not something that's supposed to be your life. It's supposed to be something when you need it, it's there. When you don't need it, don't worry about it.
Yeah. And I think anybody who's being honest with themselves does go through those periods with this, or just honestly anything you love.
Yes. Like I don't eat, I just started eating carbs again this week for you, Fleshy. Not really for you. We're just using that excuse because you're like, I don't care. I don't even need that kind of stuff. You're like, I'm fine with just eating eggs every day. I don't care. I'm like, yes, we're going to get you sushi and ramen and everything.
Yeah. Like you don't understand. You
really
need to try
Chinese
this while you're at. You need to have the New York pizza.
We did do that, didn't we?
Yeah.
That was pretty pushy about it. It was great. No, you're like a great guest because it's like I feel like I have a toy because I'm like, let's see what he does with this thing now, and it's just fun. Like you've been here like 2 days, and I've like come running out. Like, did you see this sword yet? Did you see this knife yet? And I'm like, I wonder when he's gonna tell me he's bored of that. I'm like waiting for him to be like, stop. But everything I put in your hand, like, no, I like this one. You always find some way to be into it. I don't know how you do it. I'm like trying to break you, and it's not working. You're just like, no, this is interesting. No, that's cool. I'm like, fuck. All right, I don't have anything else to show him, really. I'm getting bored now.
You know what it is? Because he'll keep bringing me stuff to show me, and then I'll just spin a little bit too hard in the living room and to the point where I'll threaten to break something. It's like, okay, I'm taking that back now.
I'm nervous. That's good. Oh, man. But no, this stuff is meant to be there when you need it. And if it's your religion, it's your religion. But in my book... says the guy with a literal temple in his house. I do this because I love this room for this purpose. We use it for other things. When I say other things, I mean it's always something in this direction. Like Camilla will come in here and do like yoga stuff or whatever. I will come in here and just meditate occasionally, especially late at night, like 3 a.m. I'll just sit here in the quiet or whatever and just be alone with myself in this nice room set up the way it's set up, just to be in an environment that's just this, but I don't do rituals in here all the time. I should, according to some people. Some people are like, you haven't done a ritual in like 2 months or a month or whatever it's been. Yeah, it's been a little while. You know why? Because I don't need to do a ritual to do what other people need rituals to do. I can literally go take a shower, put myself into a frame of mind and commune with spirits in the shower. I do not need to go crank out all the shit, fucking burst a flame up. Sometimes you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying you don't need to all the time. It's meant to be, in my opinion, sometimes for some people, it's really meant to be a special occasion type of thing. A special introduction type of thing. You want to get to the point anyway where your work doesn't require all of this crap. Let me ask you something. Do you think the first people to commune with spirits needed anything? Be honest. All of you guys who are like, balls deep in using Solomonic rituals, do you really think the first people who did magic needed anything? Be honest with yourself. You think some caveman was sitting there and like suddenly like, they just figured out like to draw a circle and do these things? No. They just had visions. They dropped some shrooms. They just laid down, had a dream, woke up, there it was. They didn't need all of this. All of this is symbolism that we apply because it puts us in a frame of mind where it's easy to do. But you know what? For some of us, it's more of an aesthetic thing. For other people, it's a necessity. Does it matter? No. If that's you, if it matters, if you need it, then that's you. But some people don't. Some people, you could be riding the bus home from school, staring out the window, start daydreaming. Next thing you know, like you're kind of communing with something in your head while you're, and it's look.
You need to be a little bit more like what Christians think it's like, and just like you just listen to rock and roll once, and the devil will enter you. It's like that's all it took. Oh my God, I could just be riding the bus, and then I hear Ozzy from some car driving by, and now I'm speaking to Baphomet.
Some of the most powerful channelings I've ever had were when I was taking a shower or something, dude. It's not even, it has nothing necessarily to do with all of this stuff. And you know, these are the outward tools, but they're not necessary. These are like, you know, people have this real, I call it superstitious, but they also have this very like technology mentality about magical stuff. That is not to say that there's no technology here. There is. It's just that the technology is a tool. It's a helper. It's an aid, but it is not by any means what makes it work.
Mm-hmm.
And you can throw all this shit out the door tomorrow and still do well. I do maintain that you need to have a mental component, a physical component, and a spiritual component to whatever thing you're doing. You're always going to be a body. You're always going to be a this. You're always going to have, there's always going to be those three main aspects always at play. It's always holistic. The question is, how much do you put attention on to what? You're trying to change something in the material world, so-called? You need something more physical to work on. You're trying to work more in the spiritual world, then you should be focusing on more spiritual matters. You're trying to work in a more, what you have to realize is the mental is containing the spiritual and the material, right? Like they say, all is mind. Well, what they really mean is the simulacrum is an illusion that the mind is generating based on its reflection of the noumenal divine truth, okay? And that sounds like what's he saying? All these words mean different things to different people. What I'm getting at is the mind is an activity of consciousness. Consciousness is an activity of awareness. So you have awareness, which is the divine just being aware. You have consciousness, which is the divine being aware of awareness. You have the mind, which is an activity of consciousness whereby it selectively focuses onto things, reifying them in the process. If I'm going to use a prop, a little baby doesn't see a bottle. They may not even separate this from your hand. It's just a part of the visual thing blobbing around. They don't know what the fuck this is. It's not a thing yet. It's just some part of the blur that's moving that they see. They haven't distinguished it from its environment yet. They still see it all as one thing, right? We learn to distinguish objects gradually over time. We learn to distinguish things one from another. In that way, in a linguistic way, no less, in a linguistic way, we reify everything we encounter, make it a thing. Then we've got to learn to look past that thing to see what it really is again. That's the challenge of magic. It's to look beyond the facade and realize that this is a spiritual material object all in one. You can say, oh, there's an astral form of this and a material form of this, but it's really the same thing. It's really the same divine noumenal object that you can see two different ways. And normally you see them as one overlaid thing. It's a spiritual object. There's a form here and there's a substance that fills that form. You can go all the way to the spiritual side and just deal with the form of the bottle. You can go all the way to the material side and deal with what it's made of and how it feels and all the things that have to do with its substantial qualities. But ultimately, both of those extremes are mental things. They're mental activities. There's a separation of form and a separation of substance, but they're inseparable. They're really the same thing. Have you ever seen a form without stuff in it? Have you ever seen a stuff without a form around it? No, it's always together. It's always the same yin-yang. It's always the same polarity as one thing. Now, the thing that I'm getting at is that there is a noumenal reality from which all of these extremes are inspired, and that reality is the divine, and that divine is you. There is no separation here. That you separate yourself from the divine with all of your little things that you do, and this makes you feel like a separate individual. Of course, that's what the divine is intentionally doing here, so there's nothing wrong with it. But this leads to suffering. Over time, this feeling of I am a me against a that and a they and a them creates the suffering environment. When you recognize that duality is an illusion, you can still be uncomfortable. You can still say, I don't want to hurt and all of this, but the suffering it subsides. It may go away completely or it may not, but it subsides. Everything becomes easier to just sort of go, yeah, that hurts, but it's okay. Like, it's not that the pain stops hurting. It's that you don't mind that it hurts anymore. And that change is so, there is no rationality for it. It's so surreal that when you've had it, you go, no, I get it. Like I can't explain it to you. I just know that stuff doesn't bother me on the same level. Will I get mad if you cut me off in traffic? Of course, in that moment, I may get mad, but I'm not going to be sitting there going like, I hate my life. I hate you. I wish you would all die. It's a momentary discomfort. It's a knee jerk. Like go to a Buddhist monk who's completely enlightened and loves life and nothing, and go punch him in the face. You think he's going to just stand there and just, oh, yeah, I love it. Now he may get knocked and he may go, yeah, that was fine. But you think he's not going to flinch? You think he's going to, or you think he's going to just sit there? Of course not. He's going to get out of the way of a moving car. He's not going to just stand there and get hit by a bus. He's going to have the same reactions you are. The difference is, if he doesn't make it, if he slips, he gets hit, whatever, it's not going to ruin his life. It's not going to ruin his day. Even if he gets maimed, it's not going to ruin his life because he's transcended that thing that makes them hate the world when it sucks. They've learned not to just accept that bad stuff happens, like in the sense that you let it all happen. It means you accept that you can't stop it all and that you might as well be happy no matter what happens, because happiness is a choice, right? And it's not about being happy. It's about being at peace. And, you know, the irony is that if you pay attention, all of these different paths lead to that eventual realization, whether it's right-hand path, left-hand path. Well, I should do it the other way around. Right-hand path, left-hand path. Doesn't matter. They both eventually lead to that realization. You either go around and become God and go, this is all me anyway. Okay. Or you submit to God and God says, oh, by the way, did you know that you were me and I was you? Either way, you get to the same truth. It's the same truth at the end of the rainbow. And I know that there's people who are like, anti-cosmic or whatever, and they go, oh no, I want to create my own universe and be my own God. Fuck this God. I hate this God. You've just fallen into the trap of externalizing your own divinity so much that you think it's a different entity, and it's causing you suffering. That's pretty sad, really. But it's not sad like it shouldn't be that way. It's just sad because it doesn't have to be that way. And if that's what you do, then more power to you, because eventually you'll find the truth. Eventually. All right. I see you got quiet. Did you die?
Oh no. I didn't want to jump back too far, but since it's at a lull, something you said that I really liked and I wanted to comment on is reifying all of the objects that we see in front of us and building that all up. The first thing that you hear whenever you start learning some new discipline, especially the physical disciplines, is do not develop bad habits. It is so much harder to break a bad habit than it is to establish a good one. And sure. I bring this up because that's kind of the process of what we're learning through all this is unwriting bad habits. Mm-hmm. And pretty much everybody I see in chat obviously knows a lot of this shit. I've seen a lot of these names. They all know what they're doing. And I like to think that we probably have some newbies here and there that come in, even if they're quiet. I think it's good to just remember that. Be gentle to yourself, because this is not easy. And even if it looks easy, or even if it is easy for somebody else, that doesn't mean it's going to be easy for you.
I would take back the word gentle. I would say compassionate. Gentle isn't necessarily the right response, but compassion is. So it's like you can be hard on yourself, but apply it compassionately. Like you hear me call myself a fat ass all the time. I don't hate myself. I'm quite the opposite. Everybody knows me. Everyone would actually say quite the opposite. Thorne loves himself too much. No, I don't love myself too much either. But I would say that I am more honest about myself, and so I'm more comfortable. I'm more comfortable in my own skin.
I'm a big fan of me. I'm very invested in the story of me, which is why I can give me a hard time.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to see me better.
Right, it takes a certain amount of pride to be actually humble, to like not hate yourself for fucking up, so that you can be honest when you do. yeah, you'll get gaslit once in a while. Someone will say like, "Oh, you can't admit when you're wrong." It's like, well, no, I just don't think I'm wrong. When I'm wrong, I admit that. When I know I'm wrong, I admit it. When I don't know I'm wrong, I'm not going to admit it. So that's that. Like that's not. You don't like to admit when you're wrong. I have to know I'm wrong. Like I have to believe I'm wrong to admit I'm wrong. But to some people, they will use that kind of stuff. They'll try to gaslight you, and that's one of the dangers of doing this stuff. The way I prescribe it is people will have a more, I'll say like you might find yourself being hit with gaslighting attempts more because you're not taking shit from people. And so some people have learned that they can manipulate others by telling them things like that. And it works for them a lot. So they try to do it to you. And that's actually a really good test. Are you like, how far have you come through this? If you fall for gaslighting, then you haven't really done it. The irony is the key word here, I guess what I'm really trying to get at, and I'm doing a bad job, is trying to get discernment. Having discernment, like one of my first things I ever said on my blog, in which my blog's been dead for a while, I got to resurrect that soon. One of the first things I ever said on my blog was that you need to have discernment. When you're engaging with my work or your own stuff, you need to be able to tell when I'm exaggerating and when I'm not. You need to be able to tell when I am this and that. You need discernment, but also most important, discernment of yourself. You need to be able to discern the difference between when you're being gaslit or when you're wrong, or when you should double down and back off. And look, I don't get that right every time. If I was as arrogant as people would say, I wouldn't say that. I'd be like, I'm always right about this, so I never get it wrong. No, I get it wrong plenty of times. But if I didn't get it wrong, I wouldn't get better, right? I wouldn't learn from getting it wrong. Like you don't learn from getting it right like you do getting it wrong. You need to get it right enough so that you see what makes it better, but you got to get it wrong to learn that you're doing it wrong. So you need both. You need wins and losses. And I have plenty of losses, believe it. Sometimes I'm doing it on purpose to test it, and sometimes I'm just wrong. And even since I started doing this in 2018, like my views have changed on a couple of issues quite dramatically since when I started. And, that too, like has made it a challenge, to do a lot of this over the years. So I'm kind of running myself. I'm wondering what people are saying now. Like, what are people saying?
Well, I'm suddenly second guessing myself because Wyatt just asked a question. He said, I know the answer within unocculted definitions, but I'm going to need you guys to explain gaslighting to me. And I've been thinking that's applicable that's the same definition, unless I'm wrong there.
No, it's the same definition. There's no definition difference between, so gaslighting is when, it's usually a narcissistic trait, but it's not always. Gaslighting is when you try to make someone second guess themselves or otherwise feel inferior, demotivated. And it's usually, look, sometimes it's based on truth, but a lot of times it's based on lies and exaggeration. And the worst examples, like there's different types of it. Like you can gaslight someone in an argument and be like, why are you like, you can throw the first punch and act like you're being the victim, like the cry bully gaslighting. That's one version of it. Another version of it is when someone like, it works really good on people who are like maybe less confident, right? You go to somebody who is like doing the right thing and you like say, I'm trying to give you an example that's not too much about me. Like this is a tough one because it's tough because like I know what's done to me and I know when I'm being gaslit with this. I'll just do it that way. I said one before. It's like when you're being when someone says you're opinionated is a good example. You're too opinionated. What does that even mean? I'm firm in my convictions, so that means I'm opinionated. Like what does opinionated mean? Like exactly how am I opinionated? Well, I said I proved that you were wrong, and you wouldn't admit it. That doesn't make me opinionated. It means I don't think I'm wrong. Or you could say nobody asked you. Like, okay, well, part of my job is to be an outspoken person. So.
And Patchwork came in with the super chat, says, "Hey, brothers."
Hey, what's up, Patchy?
Hey. Yeah, nice to see you, dude. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, especially for you two.
Yeah, yeah, it's been more than just a minute for me, I think. It's been a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you were done with that thought, but I was actually going to... Okay. I was actually going to throw... I'm scrolling up to find the question again. I just see a wall of text from Alpha says, "Alan Watts is awesome. He knows."
Yeah, Alan Watts is still my favorite. I'm sorry. Like, if you said to me, "Thorne, you can't do left-hand pass shit anymore. You just got to devote yourself to Alan Watts stuff," I'm like, okay. Just, okay, no problem. I'm just...
Whatever,
no
that's okay.
Cool. Can I do that with this, though? Please? Like, no. Alan Watts, but with demons? Can we just do that, please? Alan Watts is going to be my favorite forever. That's not to say that there aren't others that I've had to go to, like, for clearer things after a while, but Alan Watts, he speaks to your soul. He doesn't speak to your intellect. And I mean that. Like, if I could like resurrect him fully, like not just commune mentally or whatever, if I could fully pull him out of the ground, make him live again, I would say to him, you know what your difference is? You speak to our souls, whereas a lot of these other guys speak to our minds. Rupert Spira, Eckhart Tolle, they speak to your mind. Alan Watts speaks in beautiful poetry. Not that these other guys aren't poetic. Like Rupert Spira he's very eloquent. And Eckhart Tolle, he's very generous and kind and like a cute old man now, especially because he is. But Alan Watts, he speaks to spiritual poetry. He speaks in such a sing-song kind of, like, he really has, probably because he was drunk half the time when he was talking. Let me be honest with you. He was a raging alcoholic. But he really was, like, I picture him in another universe, like he's the fucking the Buddha. He's the Buddha worm with the fucking hookah on the mushroom. Like, that's how I see him. Like, just saying shit that's like, what? Like, what does that even mean? And you go walk away thinking about it. Oh shit.
I wonder how often he did the same thing. He's just like, what did that just mean that I said? Oh, that is actually, yeah. Okay,
so here's a little insider secret. If you're doing it right, that's actually what happens. Eckhart Tolle did a conversation about this. I don't know if it was a recent talk or just a recorded one or what, because I thought he was dead. I must have come from another universe where he was dead. I didn't know. I thought he died like 20 years ago. I didn't know he was still alive. I saw a video he did not long ago talking about angels. And, not that he's ever experienced things like that. He believes that there are entities, whatever, just like we're entities, but we're all part of the same divine. And he was talking about this in the sense that you can tell when it's a genuine channeling, whatever it is, because they will always be directing you towards what he calls source, what I would call the divine, what others might call Atman, Brahman. They always, the true channelings always guide you either directly by saying, you're this, or they guide you like in a circuitous path towards it, but it always ends up there. It always ends up at the source. This is what you are. You're the divine. Like, you always go upriver, never down. You always go back towards the source of life, the source of the divine, the source of your consciousness. You always go towards that source. That's how you know it's a genuine channeling of something. And I agree with him on that. And one of the things that he indicated was he has no idea what he's going to say when he's talking. And I'm the same way. I don't pre-plan. I don't think ahead of. Sometimes that causes me problems because then I'll have to think. I forget a word or something. But it's always a stream of consciousness. When I'm writing, it's a stream of consciousness. In fact, that's a downfall. Sometimes I've got to go through it, and I'm like, that was absolutely beautifully said, but it didn't need to be said here. It's actually bad writing, if that makes sense. And I have to like redo it and reform it and refine it. But like some of my greatest moments, I don't know what I'm going to say. When I say greatest moments, I don't mean like on video. I mean of my own contemplation. I'm not sitting there like doing math in my head till I figure out what the divine is. It's literally, I'll be sitting there and it's just boop, Like just a poof, just a sudden realization, just a sudden thing. It's not even a thought. It's just like I know it before the thought even blooms as a word in my mind, what I'm thinking. And this is actually the secret of good channeling too. You don't know what you're going to say. If you know what you're going to say, it's not channeling. Right? Think about it. If you know what you're going to say, is it channeling? No, of course not. It always comes from a spontaneous divine place. And it's always going to lead you back to that same spontaneous divine place. It almost becomes silly. Like, why bother even doing it anymore if it's always going to be the same answers? It's not that bad, but it does seem like it.
Want to say Patchwork came in with another super chat, says, I am God, and you are too.
He said, I am a God. Yeah.
I am a God. Thank you.
Well, we are both gods, but we are the gods that represent the true divine. That's what we are.
We are all the God. We're just, we're just the little fingers.
So there's God the impersonal and God the personal, right? The impersonal God is what we all are. That's what the Christians would think of as the Holy Spirit, but they think of it as a separate entity. That's the flaw in dualistic Christian thinking. If you're a non-dual Christian and you come to me as a non-dual Christian, I'm probably going to be like, no, you're cool. That's probably cool. I'm probably going to be like, you're just overlaying non-duality of Christianity. You're cool. Like you're not like, I'm not saying I agree with everything you like. We'll talk about, like, do you want to stone gay people? No. Okay, cool. Then we're cool. If you do, then go away. Like, I think you're stupid. But if you still love, like, if somebody sits there, look, I love the church. I love the story of Jesus. I think he was great. He was a humanitarian. He was this and that. But I am a non-dualist at heart. I know we're all God. I know that those parts where you're all judgment and hellfire is bullshit. Look, I am not going to give that Christian any kind of criticism, really. I'm going to be like, dude, and like, that's your your skin on your Winamp. Like, that's fine. That's another dating reference, by the way. That's fine. But if you're like the Christian who comes at me and says you're going to hell because of like you like pentagrams or something, then dude, I can't wait to see you there because you're going there too. I guarantee it.
So there was a question that came up and it's relevant to this conversation. I think you might like this. Alistar the NP Demon says, Carl Jung describes Jesus Christ as the archetype of the whole person, one who embraces all of life in its beauty and torment and becomes a deity. Do you all agree with this?
I don't disagree with it. I think that is a valid way of looking at Jesus. Do I think that that's what it was intended to be? Not necessarily. I think that Jesus was. We have to remember that the Jesus that we know is a character that was foisted upon us by, the Orthodox Church that formed in a period when there were hundreds, thousands of different versions of Christian thinking. Most of them were Gnostic. So what we think of today as mainstream Christianity was actually like the fanfic of Christianity once upon a time. It wasn't the Christianity that was the most common. It was actually a special branch of it, and it was formulated by the Romans, by those people. And one could argue that the Christ that we ended up with in the Orthodox New Testament is a creation of Rome, not a creation of actual history or a creation of an actual person. They selectively chose books to represent this character. They didn't actually all agree with each other. If you look at the 4 books of the gospel, they have major discrepancies between them. And you could say, well, this was just, author's error. Okay, that's fine. But there's still major discrepancies for a book that is not meant to have any discrepancies because it's supposed to be divinely inspired, like to perfection. That's a problem. Do I think the Bible was divinely inspired? I actually do. Yes, I actually do. But I think it was corrupted by human beings very badly. And I think that it was corrupted by religions and destroyed and turned into a system of control. I think that whatever utility there is in the Judeo-Christian Bibles has been lost in the translation and the corruption. I think that there's very little left that, that you could say that. Does that mean it doesn't have any life lessons? Of course it does. Does that mean that it is useful for what it was meant to be? No. I think it's lost that. You can actually, if you come at this from a non-dual or any other, like monist perspective, and look at the Christian Bible, you can see where they went wrong, because it's like they say all the things right, and then they go, but you better do this or you go to hell. It's like, no. Why is it always like, it's wonderful, but you're going to hell? Like, why is it always like gaslight? It's nothing but gaslighting. It's endless gaslighting. It literally is gaslighting the book. Okay. It's gaslighting the book. And that's what pisses me off about it. I'm
sorry, you finish your thought.
Well, I was going to rant on back to what he was saying, but you say what you're going to say. Just remind me to rant back to what he was saying.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say is, because I agree with you, there's a difference between Jesus, the dude who probably existed, and Jesus, the storybook character. And I don't say that backhandedly or anything. It's a storybook character. They created, like, many people formed up and created an archetype, whether it was intentional or just subconscious. Whoops, I'm sorry, that was probably loud. It was it was something that they created, and I don't know. It's weird, because I want to push back on that idea of Jesus Christ being the archetype, but at least where we live, I think that's the most well-known. Yeah. Like the one that everybody can point to.
You go to India, you got Krishna, or you got Shiva, and you got these other things, and you go, holy shit, there is actually similarities. There's especially Krishna and Jesus. There's like, okay, is this different people, or just is it the same guy going to two different cultures? What happened here? Look, I think that Jesus was, if he existed, he was probably nothing like what we read about in any Bible. That's number one. My personal version of the Jesus myth is that this was, when I say this, I don't mean this in a theistic sense per se. I mean it in the sense that, well, in ways I can't describe right now. It'd take rants to describe. Jesus is an incarnation of the same archetype that Lucifer is an incarnation of. It's a little different because no incarnated archetype is pure. There's always influence of other archetypes in there. But Jesus is an incarnation of the same archetype that Lucifer is. And Lucifer as the Luciferian Lucifer, I mean, not Lucifer, the bad guy Lucifer the Christians believe in. The Lucifer that is the Prometheus archetype, okay? The Promethean archetype is maybe a better way to put it, maybe instead of the Luciferian archetype. Really, Luciferianism is basically Prometheanism. It's kind of like Prometheanism for Christians. And Jesus is a Promethean character. Completely. The same story arc, everything's the same, except, there's a little bit more of a redemption to it than Prometheus gets. The story of Jesus and Lucifer of the Luciferian Lucifer are basically the same. And the Christians will say, well, see, that's putting the story out there to trick you. And like, why is it always about you gaslighting everybody else so that you're perfect? Why is that? Why do you do that? If it's really that much better, why do you have to do that? I think that's silly. Very childish. But Jesus, whoever that was, my head movie version is that this was either one or a group of mystics. So it's either one mystical person or a group of them. Someone who was learned in an Enlightenment ontology, probably that they either traveled to the East to get, or the Near East traveled to them and they got a taste of it. Maybe they ran into, a Buddhist from that period before they became the Buddhists we know today. Maybe they went to India and learned from it. There's a whole mythology in India that Jesus went there and, became a master there of their stuff and brought this to the Middle East. And incorporated it into their rabbinical understanding, because they were a rabbi too, right? So maybe somebody went from, where Jesus was born, traveled to India, learned that stuff, combined it with their Jewish tradition, saw that they were connected. Because if you look, you have the esoteric Judaism stuff that's not new. He goes back to where he came from and starts teaching this amalgamated thing that to the Jews of his time, he was an antichrist to us. Like, he would have been the equivalent. Jesus of his time would have been an antichrist to us today. That's how opposite he was to the religions of the area he was. That's what they didn't crucify him because he was telling everybody what they wanted to hear. He was crucified because they saw him as their version of a devil. They hated him. They thought he was a great Satan. They treated him that way. To certain Jewish sects, he is in hell right now, being burned alive in feces forever, boiling away. They don't see him as a good guy in certain. Yeah, it's not good.
Oh, you just riled some feathers somewhere.
No, I'm just telling you that's in some books. Now, other traditions see him as just a prophet. There's different interpretations. I'm just telling you one of them is he's like the devil. Okay? So people who sit there going like Jesus is this immaculate thing, like, no, nobody really thought that. There's a lot of people who hated his ass because he came through with something very Luciferian for his time, by the way. Does that mean that I'm a Christian now? No, not by any stretch at all. Like, this is when I go like, okay, so you're going to call me a fake poser Luciferian because I have nice things to say about Jesus. What does this say about you that you can't see the connection? Like, did you sit here and go, no, he's the other guy, he's the bad side? You're just another kind of Christian to me. Like, you're just a Christian who hates the other side. Like, you're just another tribal idiot. You haven't transcended this stuff yet. You see the tribes. You don't see the truth.
Yeah, and, it is the same exact thing as like, oh, you have a pentagram? Oh, you're going to hell. God doesn't love you anymore.
It's the same thing.
Hey, real quick, I'm gonna step away to use the bathroom real quick and grab a glass of water.
Yeah, okay. We're only gonna go like another half hour or so anyway, because we gotta get going tonight.
Well, hey, do you want like a glass of water? Can I get you anything?
I'm hot as fuck. I probably look sweaty, don't I?
We could probably turn on that fan in there. That your mic might not even pick it up.
Yeah, this is a nude room. Like, you should be doing like rituals in here naked. I forget. No, I'll be good because I'm only going to go for like another half hour, so I'll get a drink when we're done.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll keep ranting about Jesus a little bit longer, but
okay. I'll be back in a minute.
No problem. Do I agree with Carl Jung? I don't disagree with him. I think Jung, for what he was saying, I think is appropriate. Was Jesus the only, archetype of that? No, he was just, in his time, for the audience that he would have been talking to, he would have been the best known one, right? He's not talking to a bunch of worldly educated people who know about all these different religions and what they think. He's talking to a Western audience who mostly has Jesus, and he's got to pay at least a little lip service to it so he doesn't get completely, crushed. But Jung was quite educated on other philosophies and religions, very much so. He loved the I Ching, okay, and I'm learning to love it too. He understood Gnosticism and Neoplatonism quite well because he even included terms from those traditions in his work. He had a pleroma, which was something that was used in mostly Gnosticism, and he utilized aeons as archetypes. He saw them as archetypes of things, and he came at this from a more psychological perspective. But the word psyche meant spirit once upon a time, and Carl Jung was quite the spiritual character. He wasn't just some kind of, there is only science and matter and there's no spirit. He was ready to accept a lot of spiritual stuff because it's not wrong. It's just people take them to a superstitious degree that turns it into garbage, just like Christians do. When I say Christians, I don't mean all Christians. I mean, when we are all arguing and talking shit about Christians, we're not talking shit about all Christians. We're talking about a certain Ned Flanders-y, superstitious, theistic character that believes we're all going to hell and they're a fundy and all this kind of stuff. We're really talking about the fundies. But wake up, guys. Look around you in this community. Do we or do we not have fundies in this community? Are there not fundies that tune into this channel and get butthurt once in a while? When I say fundies, I don't mean Christian fundies. I mean like satanic fundies, left-hand fundies. Do we not have fundamentalists? Of course we do. In fact, our fundamentalists are sometimes 10 times grosser because they don't even have they're hateful of everything because they think that everything is against them because it kind of is. So, fundamentalism is always ugly. It's always bad. So is Carl Jung right? Yes and no. I mean, he wasn't wrong. I think that Jesus was quite a powerful archetype of what he would maybe think of as someone who has, achieved synthesis, right? They've combined their different psychological parts. They've integrated their shadow. They realize that they are one with the divine, and they become the divine hand, right? Well, isn't that the same thing that all magic teaches us to do? Isn't that what Golden Dawn and Thelema and Hinduism and Buddhism and Satanism and Lucifer, aren't they all doing the same thing? What Satanism does, like LaVeyan Satanism, is it takes the whole theistic God part out of the equation, and you are meant to, along the way, realize if there is no God, what is there? There's me. Well, am I God? Like, what does that mean? You're meant to have that conundrum. If there's no God, then who's above me? If no one's above you, then you're God. Oh, right? It leads you to a very similar. Did LaVey mean to do that? I don't know. Maybe not. But if you follow LaVeyan Satanism to its most logical conclusion, the only God in your life is you. That's not a far throw by any stretch from what Buddhists teach, what Hindus teach, what Kabbalists teach, what Neoplatonists teach, what all of these different mystical sects are teaching you. You can apply this same thing to pretty much, quite literally, any tradition of religion if you know how to look at it. Christianity, too. It's just hard because Christianity is so perverted with control systems. This is a sin. You're going to hell if you do this. But that's not how it was always practiced. It was actually Gnostics practiced it the opposite. This character we know as Jesus is a made-up amalgamation of things that the church decided were true. And in a lot of ways, your idea of Lucifer and Satan in the Western world is actually Gnosticism. In a lot of ways, what Christians have been taught to think of as what's happening? What is this? What? Hey, oh, that's amazing. I must look like I need a drink. Here we go. Now I have water to sweat out. Gnosticism is what, inspired I think, me personally, this is what I think happened. I think that the early Christians, like Orthodox Christians, needed a scapegoat so that they could rise above, and they aimed at the Gnostics, because if you look at what Gnostics taught, they taught things that sound quite Luciferian today. Quite a bit, actually. In fact, they even believed that Lucifer was the good guy. Look it up. Yes, that's maybe putting some words in their mouth, but the character we would call Lucifer is who they would have said was the good guy, because they were against the Yahweh, the demiurge. So they would have seen them as the good guy, ironically enough. And they would have told you that Jesus was an incarnation of Lucifer. I'm not making this up. You can look it up. Yes, it's saying it in a hyperbolic way, but that's pretty much what they were demonized for. They were seen as heretical. Oh, Fleshy, you're here?
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi.
I don't know if you already addressed this. Patchwork said, oh yeah, absolutely. Just the opposite end of the same pole. I assume that was like the Jesus and Lucifer comparison.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
I was gone. Everybody else knows what you're talking about, so continue without me.
Luciferian Lucifer is the edgy version of Jesus. Okay, just get over yourselves. If you can't accept that, then another one. Get off the bus. If you can't accept that's basically, like, you can say Christianity is wrong and all that. That's fine, but at least recognize that to us, it's the same. It's the same energy. It's the same archetype, just in goth form. Okay, heavy metal form, whatever you prefer. It's instead of a guy who nails himself up to a cross because he's God doing it to himself, it's a character going, I got cast into hell because I stood up for you. What's the difference? Is there one? Be honest. Is there really a difference? You know, get over it. Like, pick whichever you like. If you like going to these churches with the stained glass windows and doing the holy, holy Jesus shit, go ahead. I'm not going to judge that. That's you. But that doesn't mean you're right and I'm wrong and I'm going to hell because I say a different name when I say things to God. Okay? It's that simple. So, Jay Sauber, what's up, bro? Woo! Yeah. $4.99.
Thank you, Jay. It's kind of, I don't know. This is a really undercooked thought, but you say they're the same. Lucifer got kicked out for standing up for people, and the big J-Man fucking embraced all sin and got nailed for it.
All right. Sounds like he got nailed for a different reason. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, I remember that time.
Sin, baby.
I remember that time I got nailed so hard, I came twice.
The second coming. Oh, yeah.
Patchwork says, was talking about the... Okay. Oh, that's answering my question. Was talking about the fundamental Satanists being the same as radical Christians.
But it's true in both ways. It's true in both ways. Yeah, I think it's true in both ways. I think that anyone has truly, I don't want to make a no true Scotsman fallacy here, but I'm going to make one anyway. I personally believe that anyone who follows Luciferianism to its logical conclusions, practices it, lives it, transcends this whole tribal duality between Lucifer as an enemy of Jesus, I think that's bullshit. I don't see that at all because they're both, to me, characters in different stories. And the Jesus character teaches a very similar truth to the one that the Luciferian Lucifer teaches. They're both a Promethean archetype. They are both there to liberate their people from the suffering of their religious bondage and their ignorance. And you can say that what Jesus taught was wrong, but what you're only telling me is you don't like the story the Orthodox Christians tell. You don't know Jesus. You've never met him. None of us have met him. As far as we know, he didn't even exist. Yes, Christians will say there's enough evidence to prove in a court of law that Jesus existed according to modern law. Okay, that's actually not enough to prove it historically, but that's fine. You want to say that? That's fine. We can assume somebody existed that got given that name. Okay, it doesn't matter whether he existed or not to someone logical, because they can look at that and go, this whatever changed the world. So in a sense, it's more real than any of us, okay? More people are going to remember Jesus than are ever going to remember me. So whether he existed or not, as far as history is concerned, he's more real than I'll ever be, right? Think about it, guys. Really be honest with yourself. Do you think that you're more real than Casper the Ghost? Who's going to remember you and who's going to remember Casper the Ghost? There's people who are going to be born 40 years from now who never saw Casper the Ghost, or who are going to know who Casper the Ghost is, will never know who you are. Or at least Superman. Did Superman ever exist? No. But people are going to go, Superman existed in the sense that everybody knows about him. Superman's had more of an effect on the world than most of us ever will.
Dude, the golden arches are more real than you.
Yes. From the perspective of what, when someone says there's more evidence that they existed, there's more evidence Superman existed than you ever did. I'm just saying, you don't want to hear that if you're really a real hardcore realist. Like, of course I'm more real than Superman because I live and breathe. Okay, buddy, we'll see what people say in 100 years. No one's going to know you existed.
Also, before we get too far, Jeff524 hit us with a super chat, says you guys are awesome tonight, and Yepson too. Appreciate you, Jeff.
They're buying us drinks when they can't come. That's so nice. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. That's really sweet. So, I mean, ultimately, we do seem to come up with the Jesus conversation a lot lately. We really do. And I think it's because, in a lot of ways, it's the most shocking thing to say.
It really is. Because a lot of people over here don't want to hear it. I say over here like left hand.
Tell me about your shadow, motherfucker. Are you afraid of Jesus too? Like, be honest. Are you afraid?
You're about to bust out... what did we call that character? Fundy Thorne.
Yeah, everyone
Reverend.
actually asked for him.
Oh, yeah, H.D.
Wyatt asked
Rose,
for
the
him.
Reverend.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we doing real Reverend hours over here, but really not. It just, I feel like
No.
that's the perception, but like, yeah, just
Look, I go where I go where the imbalance is. If you ever really pay attention to me, I go where I feel the imbalance is and I push on it. And I feel like maybe not this audience, but a lot of people who come to my work expect this to be, oh, holy Satan, this and that. And then they hear someone talking about things from a position where it's transcended this duality of good and evil and, you know, Jesus and Satan and all this. And for some people, this is the first they're ever going to hear of that. This is the first they're ever going to hear that there's not just a third option. It is a transcendent option whereby it's not a binary anymore. Instead of being a theist or an atheist or an agnostic or any of those kinds of things, there is a genuine, actual, verified realization of what the divine is. The non-dualist doesn't deal in belief or faith. Neither does the Luciferian. They believe only in what they can prove, what they know. What you can know, I promise you, you can know your divinity in this lifetime. It's not a belief, it's not a faith. It is a legitimate, I know this. When I say I know this, I don't mean it, I believe it. I don't mean I am faithful in it. It means the same way that you know you're breathing right now, you can know that you are the divine. It is not, that doesn't mean you will live that way every moment of your life, but you will know it and you will be able to reach it and realize it when needed. It will be reminded. And some of the most terrifying things that have ever occurred to me in that realization is when I think about how vast the universe is. And I think about all the galaxies that are beyond what we can see in the observable universe, all the life that is out there. And I realize that what I know to be the divine and is the true self is out there. It's all the way far out there. And I realize it's not actually out there. That out there is an illusion taking place in here. And in here is an illusion taking place in what? Not in my head. It's an illusion taking place where? In the mind of God. You look at the world, all of you. This is the part that I wish I could just rip out of me and give to every one of you just for a moment, is this feeling, this realization that everything that I see out there is really in there, is really in me. There is no out there. This is a dream that you're dreaming. That doesn't mean that there's like that this has no source. This does have a source. There is something that is inspiring this into my experience, but it's not here. It's not here. There is no here. This here is inside me. It's inside consciousness. This whole experience is you. Let's say you're a total materialist and you think there's only a brain. Well, then your whole experience of the world is just what your brain's experiencing. You don't even know what your hand feels like, dude. Your whole feeling of your hand is what your brain feels when your hand tells your brain it exists. You don't know what the world looks like. You know what your eyes tell your brain that they're seeing. And they're not seeing the world. They're seeing things reflecting off that world. You don't see any of this. Now realize that this means even your brain is just an idea happening in what? What is it happening in? In consciousness. Where's the edge of consciousness? It has none. If it has none, it's everywhere. It's everywhere that experience is. There's no edge. There's no end to it. So the furthest universe that you can imagine is inside consciousness. It's all in that same consciousness. That means that same consciousness is one of everything. It's the same divine thing and everything. This is the logic that follows the realization, the actual experience of it. When you transcend all of this shit, and I say shit like not in the derogatory sense, in the sense that this is not it. This is like the covering of it. This is the holographic display that tells you it's there. But this isn't it. When you transcend all of this, when someone sits there and has the fucking audacity to tell you that Jesus and Lucifer don't get along, that Satan is the enemy of Yahweh, and you've got to choose a side, the first thing I want to do is just laugh and walk away because you don't know shit. And I mean that, there's my opinionated self, but I'm not backing down from it. You don't know shit. You live in a tribalistic, primitive, savage mind. You have not transcended anything. And that's why I look at this as being left hand, doing this is my little way of getting down in the trenches, reaching down into these trenches and going, did you know you're God? Of course I did. I'm a left-hand person. I believe I'm God. I am powerful. I am the all-powerful Oz. Look at me. I am God. Okay, make the sun go out. You can't do it? I thought you were God. Now I got to take you through this whole path where you realize that you do make the sun rise and set, just not the way you think you do. You don't do it like you turn a light switch off. It's nothing like that. It's happening. It's happening the same way that two hands make a clap. Okay? When you can understand that koan, when you can understand that, you transcend all of this bullshit. Does that mean that you'll step on a Lego and not hurt? Of course you'll hurt. Does that mean that you won't walk down a dark alley and your heart won't skip a beat? Of course it will. It just means that those feelings now are no different than when you're playing a video game and something jumps out at you, or you lose a life. You look at it like, I don't want it to happen. I'm willing to do what it takes to not let it happen. But if it does, it's not going to ruin my day. It's not going to, even if it does ruin my day, that's a day. I know it's not real. I know I'm not losing anything real. So yeah,
that's like, I don't know how, that's like the perfect end for it.
Yeah, I think we're right on time, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I know what it's like for Camilla now too. That is very entertaining to hear you from the other room.
I mean, look, she gets more than she lets on. Like, she'll be like, I don't know half of what you're saying. And then I'll talk things through with her and she gets them instantly. She knows. It's just integrating stuff is hard. When I do eventually release whatever I'm working on next, it will follow a pattern that's tried and true. And people may recognize it. But it will follow the pattern of, one, this is just a book. It's not enough. You've got to seek a teacher and a practice. You've got to put things in a practice. You've got to find a teacher, whether that's an embodied teacher or a disembodied one. I don't care. You need something that is your guide, your Lucifer. You have to find it. You've got to follow that only so far as it's just a light that shows you the path. Once you realize your divinity, that's not the end of it, guys. Realizing that you're the divine doesn't mean that now you are able to suddenly pull that out of your ass. It is a work in progress that's part of a game. You realize that you've decided to play a different game. You're now playing what Alan Watts would call the wake-up game. You're now playing the wake-up game where you are going from little old me to I'm everything. And to go from that, you can go right to the end in a matter of seconds with meditation. But to live that way is a practice. To wake up every morning and to be able to not engage in anxiety thinking, to actually enter into that transcendent no mind state where, yes, there's mind there, but it's not a mind full of thoughts. It's a mind full of spontaneous happenings. When you can transcend the thinking mind to the spontaneous mind, maybe that's a better word for it. You stop thinking in an egoistic way. You're now just a presence of consciousness. There's no longer a sense of I every moment of the day. There's just a sense of consciousness observing. As that happens more and more, this practice takes on a life of its own. You can't look at life the same way ever again. You can't buy ice cream without looking at that ice cream and going, that's a mirage. This is a mirage. You can't do anything the same way. And some people, this is actually terrifying and daunting because it can even become nihilistic at first, because you sit there going, if this is all in my head, and my head is in my head, and everything that I'm experiencing is a vision, is a dream, what does it fucking matter? And it's scary because you're the whole thing. Like, this is terrifying when you first start trying to integrate it.
Shit, man, I don't want to do this all on my own.
Well, that too. dude, when you look at your lover and you go, that's me. Who do I love? I love myself. There's a moment of a little bit of sadness there at first, when you're first figuring it out, because it's like, I thought I loved somebody, but I love just another side of myself. But then that becomes beautiful, because then you realize they're loving another side of themselves when they love you. And the hard, it is hard. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it, but it is simple. That's the irony, is it's so simple, it makes it hard. It's such a simple realization. It's like suddenly the whole world turns backwards, but it's still the same. So it's all like, if I reach over here, it's the same, but now that's the left side. And
it's so simple weird. It's so simple that chucklefucks like us have to complicate it to try to explain it.
Yeah, it is. It is. And you know, people will say, oh, you're not enlightened because you do this wrong. That's your perception from the outside. You think enlightenment means you're Superman all of a sudden. You got to be. That's the one thing I would say against Jung's argument, that Jesus is this archetype of the perfect man. Jesus is an unrealistic expectation. The Buddha farted, right? Did Jesus fart? I don't know. But if you ask a Christian, they'd get mad. If you ask a Buddhist if Buddha farted, they'd say, hell yeah, he probably ripped donkey ass. He probably killed it. So, you know, people have these unrealistic expectations of what enlightenment or liberation is. They have these unrealistic expectations, partially because these expectations are put there as carrots on the stick and to sort of weed out the people who are never going to get it. If you're going to spend your whole life acting enlightened and making a big show of it, you're probably not really. But who am I to say? Maybe you are, and this is just the game you're playing. So instead of worrying about if other people are, don't even worry about if you are. The irony is, in my opinion, the most enlightened person doesn't care about enlightenment. They don't care about it. They just live their life. They walk around, they play the game, and they realize it is just a game, and they have fun doing it. And sometimes you lose a life, and sometimes you throw the dice and they come up bad. And that's part of the game, and you accept that. Acceptance, stoicism, all of those things ultimately are indicators that someone has got it. You know, and just living life for what it is. Because the divine wouldn't be here if it didn't will itself to be here.
Mm-hmm. And everything I've heard, it seems everybody who is enlightened, everybody expects that it's a big switch. It's all just one day, oh, I'm enlightened. Guess I'll keep posting memes.
I actually had this one person say, you know, an enlightened person says that they know nothing. Like an enlightened person would never say they're enlightened. They'd never say that they would never say they know anything. They're going to act like the. No, you've already told me what enlightenment looks like. That means you don't know. You've told me that enlightenment looks like someone who's humble, someone who's this and that. Now, I did this a minute ago. I admit. But what I'm saying is what they said was they put it on a pedestal. I kicked the pedestal over. I said, I would tell you that for all you know, the person taking your money at the cash register is more enlightened than you'll ever be. The person who is doing your garbage, you know, as someone would say, I see you, Shiva, you know, looking at me from behind the eyes of the mailman. The enlightened, the truly enlightened, they don't live a lofty thing, not because they're so fucking humble. It's because it has nothing to do with that. You'll find enlightened people in the boardroom of major companies. You'll find enlightened people everywhere. It has nothing to do with any of these external things at all. I look at someone and I go, do they have a zest for life? You know, my grandfather, for example, I would say, while not technically he was liberated by comparison compared to most people. And the irony is I'd hear him going to bed at night. And I don't know if because he was in pain, I don't know if he was mad about stuff. I'd hear him cursing himself to sleep sometimes. But he was always happy, though, like genuinely happy about life. He looked forward to every day. He looked forward to everything. He loved his family, his grandkids. He kept everybody together. And through everything, even though he was cursing himself to sleep every night, he loved his life. And I sit there and I look at that and go, yeah, but isn't that liberation? Isn't that enlightenment? The person is they don't hate their life. They don't hate anything. They exist, and they find joy all the time. They find something to be happy about almost all the time. Even when they're angry, they're still secretly happy about it. Like, holy shit, this person's happy. They're enlightened. They're free. Right? Like, did they go bruh, bruh in front of a wall? Did they do rituals and shit? No. He fucking worked in his shop, playing on his radios, and he loved looking at the stars and talking about science and God and whatever else. And I look at that person and I go, yeah, that person figured it out. And that inspired me, like, big time, So can you do that? If you can, you probably got it. You probably have it and don't know it. In fact, I know you have it and don't know it, because that's actually what it is. It's not, you don't become enlightened. You become liberated from all your delusions that keep you from feeling enlightened. When you become enlightened, it's not that you gained something, you lost all the bullshit. That's all. So we're kind of going on. We're kind of going on here.
It's not even becoming aware so much as losing awareness.
Yeah. Well, it's not losing awareness. It's losing attachment. It's losing attachment.
Yeah, better said.
When something bad happens, you're not attached to it. It's like, ow, that hurt. Fuck you. Okay, I'm gonna go have fun now. You're able to normalize very quickly when something bad happens, and it's not coping. You just, like, that's when I know I've hit something that I wasn't integrated with. When I hit something that I can't be happy, like, there's still anxiety, like the shit that's been happening since 2020. It's taken a lot for me to learn to integrate this shit, and I'm still only like 50% where I should be. And it's like, I know that, and I've decided, like, okay, I got to look away a little bit. I gotta give myself some breathing room to integrate it. And overall, I'm better for it, because in the end of the day, I'm learning what matters, and it's not who wins elections or whether we have freedom of speech or any of this other shit. Not to say that those things aren't worth fighting over. They are. But if that's all that will make you happy, then you fucked up. If you can't be happy in the middle of a jail cell, yes, that's hard mode. There's no question that's hard mode. Not saying that should be easy, but that, you want to, there's actually a funny joke that goes like, the person achieves enlightenment, like, they really kind of do. They achieve some level of enlightenment at the temple. And then the monk, just sort of sitting there in meditation, looking kind of smug, says, good, now go spend the holidays with your family. Like the ultimate test. You can achieve this enlightenment, and it's fleeting. But then when you realize it, you go, okay, I didn't achieve anything. I just let go of shit. Now I got to learn how to let go of everything all the time. And it's easier said than done, because in the intentional doing of it, you're just clinging to something else. It's a bunch of bullshit. Oh, that's the most. Now, did you know, by the way, guys, I forgot to announce something. It was a number of years ago today that my wife and I became married people.
Oh, yeah.
I it's weird. We don't make a huge deal of our anniversary. I don't know why. Like, we make a bigger deal of it like last week than we did today. Like, that's the irony of it. Like I don't know what it is, and I sort of want to feel bad about it, but she doesn't feel bad about it, so I don't feel bad about it. And it's like, but yeah, this is technically our anniversary for another hour. So I'm gonna end this stream now, and I'm gonna go anniversary it up with my wife. We're gonna go on an adventure. We're gonna go to the graveyard at night. We're gonna take Fleshy to fucking Jane's Hill, and we're gonna bring some ghost hunting equipment, and maybe we'll record some of this shit, and we're gonna have a good fucking time. And I want all of you guys to know that those of you who love and respect Fleshy and me, I love you guys. Like, I may not act like it all the time. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching us. Thank you so much for all of this shit. And Fleshy, please come back more often. We miss having you on the show.
Oh, I thought you meant here in New York. I Fuck, I'll do both.
Well, I mean, I thought that was obvious. Like, that's obvious. It's the, you know, the
I
stream
forgot.
partner.
I thought that was tomorrow. I just realized you guys brought my ass all around New York for your anniversary. What the hell?
Yeah, that's kind of like our anniversary present to ourselves. Kind of.
Getting my ass out.
That's right.
Jesus.
Get on that cuck chair, baby.
Right, I'm sitting on the cuck chair at the hotel now.
You know, that's not to say that we all get along all the fucking time, right? I'm not a big lovey-dovey. I'm actually if you look at my chart, one of the things that's a risk is a little bit of emotional detachment. I'm not always the most warm. I feel like I am, but I feel like a lot of times I'm too warm and squishy. Maybe I am, but I feel like I can be difficult to get, like, you know, close time with. And for me, looking at people and going, I like you, I don't think it like I gotta say it. I feel like, and this sounds horribly arrogant until you understand where it really comes from. I feel like if I'm spending time with you, like, that's me telling you I love you. And because I hate people. I fucking hate humanity so much. If I can stand to be around you for more than 5 minutes, you probably got something good going on. So, yeah. So I don't say it much.
It's because I'm a big believer that I love you is not just I love you. It's have you eaten? Hey,
Yeah.
is there something I can do for you? Hey, do you want to hang out? Or, you know, like Patchwork. Another fantastic stream, my dudes.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Appreciate you, Patchwork.
Man. I know you go through periods where you need to be alone, but don't be a stranger, dude. I know you go through some dark spells, so don't be a stranger.
Yeah, don't we all? I know what that's like.
Wyatt. I mean, you know, Wyatt needs to get slapped around every now and then, but we love him. He says, I love you guys too. You cold ass motherfuckers are more family than my family. Aw. Dude, you know what's going to happen though? I guarantee you, unless they're really abusive to you, you're going to turn around someday and you're going to appreciate them too. I promise. Unless they're really abusive to you or something. That's different. But I can almost guarantee you that, you know, there's phases we go through of rebellion. And once you're, you know, sometimes we hate people because we haven't been freed of them yet. And we can only love them when we're free of them. And that's something you only learn when you grow up, you know?
That was the worst part of growing up for me, is realizing, oh shit, I understand why they did what they did. I don't like it, but I can't hate them anymore. Damn it, I wanted to hate them for that. Fuck, I can't.
Yeah. I don't know if it feels as good when she says it. I thought it was so cool when I said, she says, again, I don't love you. I love you. I love the way you make me feel. She said that was like one of the coolest things I ever, I don't know. I said it and I meant it and I still do. And it's one of those things like, because there is no you there. It's just me on the other side. And I love the way you make me feel. You know, you make me feel like a good person. You make me feel like a hero. You make me feel like I don't know. You make me feel like I have somebody, and I know that there's only me. So it's a good feeling. You know, I don't know. I'll say one thing. You know. No, you know what? I'm gonna make you guess. Good night, everybody.
Thank you all for hanging out. Have a good night. See ya.
See ya.
All right, we're off.